Hello and welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd, and your Philadelphia Union. They continue to get results, continue to win. As the Union last night defeat Colorado Rapids by a score of 3-1. And yeah, what a performance! What a night at Subaru Park. As I totally got distracted with with me playing the intro. 5 seconds of you guys listening to my computer mic, but everything's all corrected now. But yeah, Philadelphia Union come out with a 3-1 victory over the Rapids after the Union concede the first goal of the night, which is a little bit shocking, a little bit surprising at Subaru Park, where we've seen the Union all season long, been dominant. So to see the Union come out, and we're talking about that first half, so dominant against the Rapids on the night, and to see the Union go out there and concede the first goal, I was a little bit shocked. I don't know about you guys, but I was definitely shocked on the night to see the Union concede that goal. But 3 unanswered goals in the second half, a goal by Tai Baribo and a brace from Mikael Uhre is enough to get the job done for the Union. And we have a lot to talk about. We have a ton to talk about. We'll go over my thoughts of Mikael Uhre's super sub appearance off the bench. We'll talk about Indiana Vassilev's crucial role, staying positive despite the many missed chances in the first half. Can you wrongly assess a soccer game? And then we'll end the show with Blunder of the Week. Real quick, I want to go ahead and bring up Steve's comment. He says, nice seeing Todd walking into the stadium with a beaming smile. I'm certain he left last night with the same or bigger smile. Yeah, it was nice meeting you or seeing you again last night, Steve, and definitely left Subaru Park with a beaming smile, but I don't think it really had anything to do with the game. If you know, you know. But yeah, a fantastic game last night from the Union, and that is 4 games now in a row that the Union are undefeated. Michael says hello and welcome. He says audio good. Yeah, Michael, I messed up. That was on me. I messed up the intro, but again, people on the RSS feed, they have no idea because it sounds perfect to them. Steve says, and second being the Heat and proving yet another double dub. Jillian says, "Oh, I know. If you know, you know." Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure there's going to be quite a few of you guys that know exactly what I'm talking about. Not going to say too much, but yeah, if you know, you know. So there isn't too much news to talk about because I don't want to rant. I don't want to ramble for like 10 minutes because we have so many clips to play tonight. I think I have four clips lined up for you guys, which we haven't done that in a while. So we're here from Bradley Cornell 4 times tonight. I do have a video to play for Blunder of the Week. But without further ado, let's get straight into the news. All right, so the only news portion of the show that I want to talk about, and it feels so weird talking about this since the game happened uh, a few days ago. That is Tai Baribo being named the 2025 MLS All-Star MVP for his game-winning goal as the MLS All-Stars won that game by a score of 3-1. Tai Baribo becomes the first Philadelphia Union player to score in an All-Star game. Obviously becomes the first player for the Philadelphia Union to win MVP. He also shared the pitch with Jacob Glesnes and teammate Kai Wagner. And I'll be honest, I don't know. I mean, the All-Star game, I watched bits and parts of it. I didn't stay up for the whole thing because the game just kept getting so delayed. And then the whole like walkouts that they did, which was like similar to what they did for the Club World Cup, definitely wasn't a fan of that. I thought during the Club World Cup when they did those walkouts, those introductions, I was like, man, this is so weird. This is so odd. And then to see MLS kind of do the same thing, I was like, yeah, nah, let's let's really hype this tournament up because who doesn't love introducing the players separately for walkouts? Who doesn't love that? That screams excitement for an All-Star game. And then the game gets delayed and everything gets pushed back. I don't know. I just really wasn't into the All-Star game, but it was cool to see Tai Baribo become the first Union player to score at the All-Star game, win MVP. And last night at Subaru Park, you heard MVP's chance for Baribo once he scored the game tying goal. And I said to a couple people, I'm like, let's hold off on that. Maybe you're chanting in the River End MVP because he was the MVP at the All-Star game, but if the season ended right now, I would say the MVP would be Evander, absolutely killing it for FC Cincinnati. I know Dreyer has a shout too with San Diego, but yeah, if Union fans are saying that Baribo is MVP of MLS this season, I would say slam on the brakes because I disagree with that. But Baribo has played well this season, and he's had really big moments for the Union. Has a big moment last night, scoring in the 64th minute, and we'll talk about the goals here in a bit. Speaking about the goals, if you guys haven't checked out the goals breakdown video yet, I posted that about an hour before we went live. So live now on YouTube. Also, if you subscribe to the Substack, you guys should have got that in your emails about an hour ago. So yeah, I appreciate you guys always checking out the goals breakdown videos. I appreciate you guys checking out the podcast. But that's pretty much all that I wanted to say on the news. So let's go ahead and actually, before we do that, Cole says the walkouts would have been fine if the game still started at 9. Yeah, it started at what, 9:30, 9:40? I don't know. Just so stupid. So stupid. But maybe the All-Star game, the delayed All-Star game should get Blunder of the week. I mean, there was definitely multiple choices this week, and there was one that um I definitely I definitely couldn't nominate this week, but definitely did have a shout. Cole also says, sorry, Ty, but he's not even the Union's MVP, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree. Quinn Sullivan's up there for me. Jovan Lukic, Stanley John Jock, Tai Baribo, Kai Wagner. I mean, you have so many great options for the Union on MVP. That's a good question there, Cole, or a good comment there, Cole. And I'll leave a question for you guys that are listening live on YouTube, live on Twitter, or people that are listening back on the RSS feed. With the season now at 25 matches played for the Union, 9 more games to go. Who would you guys say is your MVP? I mean, there's a lot of great shouts. Kai Wagner's up there for me. Quinn Sullivan, I think it's probably between the two of them for the Union. I mean, both of them having terrific seasons for the Union. So we'll see what exactly happens. Michael chimes in, says David Vasquez of San Diego isn't newsworthy. It absolutely is newsworthy. Jose Nunez, if you guys didn't see this on social media, I know Jose blasted it everywhere, saying that according to sources, David Vasquez is potentially on the move to San Diego FC. And so since Jose's not joining us tonight, I decided let's go ahead and hold off on that report. Let Jose talk about it since he's the one who broke that. And nothing's been official yet by the club. Not doubting Jose. It seems like whatever Jose reports always comes true. So, Michael, the whole reason why I just wanted to hold off on that is just because Jose's the one who broke the report. And when Jose joins back on the show, we'll go ahead and talk about that. Steve says for his MVP, Kai for certain. He carries so much weight. Yeah, I mean, Kai had a fantastic game last night. It's had a fantastic season all year long, and it is crazy. We'll probably talk about this at the end of the season, that Kai Wagner wasn't originally an MVP or wasn't originally a All-Star, was filling in for an injury. It's insane that Kai Wagner wasn't in the original list of players for the All-Star game. But let's go ahead and talk about last night's game between the Philadelphia Union and Colorado Rapids. As we all know, the Union won that game 3-1 with goals from Tai Baribo and Mikael Uhre scoring a brace. Colorado Rapids, Rafa Navarro opened the scoring in the 37th minute. And I mean, there's just so much to talk about before we talk about specific topics with Mikael Uhre coming off the bench, Indiana Vassilev's night, staying positive, and then can you wrongly assess a soccer game? The 4 topics that I want to focus on tonight. But I think one thing I want to say is, and I mentioned it in the intro, where the Union, they concede it first. It doesn't happen often at Subaru Park. I think last night was the 3rd time this season that the Union have conceded first at home. And they obviously come from behind, score 3 unanswered goals in the second half. But the one thing that is so interesting about this team is they've gained 21 points this season from losing positions. That's second most in MLS. Columbus leads the league with 25. But I don't know if people like realize like how impressive that truly is. 21 points from losing positions. That is super, super impressive from the Union. 21 points. And most of that's happened from the road. They've been a really good road team this season. Subaru Parks, I would say, back to being what it's been the last couple seasons, a 9-1-3 record. And Jim Curtin would always say this, right? You take care of your results at home, you go on the road, and you come away with points. You're going to set yourself up good for the playoffs. And as things stand right now, the Union are currently back in first place in the Supporters Shield standings, the first team in MLS to reach 50 points. Like I mentioned, a 9-1-3 record at Subaru Park, and then 6-4-2 on the road. And when I look at this team, the fight, the grit, I really don't want to say it because I don't want to jinx things, but watching this season unfold the way that it has really reminds me of this team back in 2022. And yes, you don't have the goals even between Gazdag. I know what he led that season with 22 goals in MLS play for the Union, or 21 goals, and then you had Carranza and I think Uhre both at 13 goals apiece. But I knew things aren't lined up perfectly like that. I know the Union aren't scoring a ton of goals like they did back in 2022 when they're blowing out teams 6-0, 7-0. But the Union, they do have a ton of grit, a ton of fight in them, like they did in 2022. And when this team goes behind, it doesn't happen often. But when they go behind, they find ways to get results. They find ways to continue to fight to the final whistle. And we saw that last night against the Rapids. There was multiple chances that the Union had, and maybe none bigger than Jovan Lukic in the 80th minute, when it's a great run in behind. It's a great through ball by Mikael Uhre to see the run of Lukic. And he's 1v1 against Zach Steffen in the 80th minute. And as this game's going longer and longer on, Colorado's getting deeper and deeper. They're sitting deeper. They're playing 2-4s of 2 blocks of 4. They're playing that super low block. In that moment where Lukic should have scored it, should have buried it, he doesn't. This team continues to find chances to create. They still continue to fight. Was that the case last year with this team? Absolutely not. But this is exactly what you saw back in 2022 with this team. And so I don't know how you guys feel. Are you guys getting 2022 vibes with this team? The 4 wins off of their record in 2022, where they got 19 wins. They're 17 points off of tying the 2022 record of 67 points. As things stand, they have the 4th most goals scored in MLS with 43, 9 games remaining. The Union for sure are going to break over 50 goals this season. But I really, 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 really get 2022 vibes with this team. Michael says, Gazak still can't score for Columbus with 1 PK exception. Geez. Cole says, we have to make it through this transfer window without selling Quinn, Danley, Baribo, etc. Michael says, second half was relentless pressure on Colorado. They could barely make it out of their half. And if it wasn't for Zach Steffen, I do think last night probably would have been a game where the Union scored 5 or 6 goals. Steffen ends the game with 8 saves. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't the Union put up 6 or 7 goals against Colorado at Subaru Park in 2022? Somebody look it up. I know Cole's pretty good at fact checking me, but I'm pretty sure the Union scored 6 goals at Subaru Park in 2022 against the Rapids. And it probably would have happened last night too if it wasn't for Zach Steffen. Played a phenomenal game for the Rapids, kept them in the game all night long, finished the night with 8 saves, and it's crazy what good goalkeeping does for you. As you guys know, as Union fans, Andre Blake has kept this team in how many games over the years? How many points has Andre Blake won the Union? A ton. In Colorado, they were close. They were close to coming away with a point last night because of Zach Steffen's performance. But the grit, the fight with this team, the never say die attitude, they're always in it until the final whistle blows. And so a 15-5-5 record, first team to 50 points in MLS, 43 goals scored in the season. Union also recorded their 200th MLS win last night. This team's flying. They look shaky on the road against Columbus and Nashville, but they show, hey, look, we're not going to let that affect us. We're going to go about our business. And by the way, that Houston game, it could have been 4 wins in a row for the Union, but we all know that they decided not to give the Union a penalty kick. And I mentioned it. We'll wait to see what pro referees say about that non-penalty given for the Union, where they said Mendoza said that Harriel fouled Bartlow. And so pro came out with their report, their findings on Saturday. On Saturday, they replaced this. They released this. They said, pro's opinion. The referee correctly awarded a penalty kick for a pushing offense by Pablo Ortiz on Bruno Damiani. However, earlier in the attacking phase, Harriel made careless contact to Bartlow's head with his left arm as they contested a header. The referee was correct to rescind the penalty kick and award a direct free kick for the careless foul after video review. Oh, man, we don't have to spend too much time on that, but yeah, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Harriel's going up there for a header. Bartlow jumps late, heads into Harriel's elbow. I don't know what Harriel's supposed to do there, but pro referee said that Mendoza made the right call on the play. No penalty was given. It doesn't matter. The Union come out of Houston with a 1-1 draw, come out with a point, but you got to think, if they would have been given the penalty kick, did the Union see out the game and defeat Houston 2-1? The Union don't let that affect them. They come out with a stellar performance against Colorado, and now they have the next 2 weeks off before they welcome Toronto FC to Subaru Park. Yes, there is a game next weekend against Frankfurt. It's a friendly. I'm not sure how many people are going to go and attend that friendly, but you will get the chance to see former Philadelphia Union player Paxton Aronson. So maybe there will be quite a few players going out to see Frankfurt play Philadelphia Union, and welcoming Paxton Aronson back to Subaru Park will be a little strange seeing Paxton in a opposing team's jersey, not in a Union's jersey. But yeah, I think it should be a good time to welcome Paxton back and see a former World Cup winner in Mario Götze. It's a really good Frankfurt team. So yeah, I'd be curious to see how many Union fans show up. Be curious, any of you guys listening to the podcast, you guys going to the friendly next week against Frankfurt. Jillian says 6-0 back in 2022 against Colorado. Thank you, Jillian. Michael says Stefan stood on his head, but 11 shots on goal is pretty rough for any keeper. Yeah, absolutely. And to come away with 8 saves in that game, insane. Cole says, and Pro did not include that PK in their video. Yeah, I noticed that too. So poor. But I think on their website, I haven't watched this yet. It looks like maybe oh yeah, actually no, you're right. No, it's just a penalty. What is this actually? I don't know. I'm about to click on it. No, it is the foul. They show the angles for I'll leave a link in the show description, or can I post this on YouTube for you guys to watch? Maybe. I haven't tried this. Let's go ahead and leave a comment, see if this link works. Let me know if somebody clicks on that and it works. Great. But yeah, it was weird. On the YouTube video, they didn't go and post a video on YouTube. So that link I just sent you guys on YouTube, it should work. Let me know if it works or not. But if not, I'll put a link to the show description so you guys can go ahead and check that out after the podcast. But regardless, yeah, ridiculous decision by pro referees for not awarding a penalty kick for the Union. Domesticated Hoagie says, I'm saying this for the first time, but Bizo played great. Bizo played great. That's what Bradley Carnell said as well. I don't know. I'm indifferent. Did create 4 chances on the night, but I do think that Bizo was responsible for the first goal that the Union conceded, and it wasn't just him. I think Indiana Vassilev was at fault for the goal as well. And Jacob Glesnes too, for putting Indiana Vassilev in a tough situation. It's a bad pass. And then Jovan Lukic for not tracking back. And he was the player closest to Navarro who had the free header on the goal. But we can go ahead and talk about that goal that the Union conceded, because I discussed this at length in the goals breakdown video, about like 4 minutes. So I'll try to keep it condensed. But Vassilev plays the ball out wide to Olivier Bizo. There's only 2 players inside the 18-yard box for Houston. And instead of just slowing down the play or playing a cross in the air, he tries to play a low driven cross, and it gets cleared away by Colorado. Now, granted, the Union retained possession, but then they do nothing with it. Like I said, Glesnes then puts Vassilev in a difficult spot. There's three Colorado Rapids players around him. Vassilev could have played the ball out wide right again to Danley John Jock with his left foot, opts not to. He turns into traffic, and then he tries to force a pass out wide left to Kai Wagner, and he mishits his pass. And then Wagner gets outmuscled by Calvin Harris, and now it's a 3v2 situation for Colorado, and Bassett hits the crossbar, and then you have Jovan Lukic not tracking back on Navarro, and he has a free header. So a lot went wrong on that play. You have your choice to say who you think was at fault. Like I mentioned, probably 4 players on fault, but it's got to be better decision making by Olivier Bizo on that initial cross inside the 18-yard box. Why you would play a low driven cross, I'm not sure, especially when you have 3 Rapids players in between where you intended to play the cross. It made no sense to me. But I mean, offensively, yeah, he was solid on the night, and he did grow from that moment. I like would have wanted to see a little bit more from him attacking wise, especially like playing balls into the 18-yard box, because as this game went on, we see it all the time. The Union love using their outside backs, but Colorado gave the Union a ton of space out wide. And I just wish the Union would have done a little bit more accurate passing with the ball on Bizo's side, on the right-hand side. But yeah, it wasn't the worst game from Bizo. And I know we talked about that last episode, where it might be a little bit dicey not having Frankie Westfield, not having Nathan Harriel. And Bizo had one mistake, but then other than that, he came back and was solid. I wouldn't say it was great, but I would say he was solid. He did a job, and other than one moment, yeah, no complaints. Cole says, since he had a goal taken away for a similar play yesterday, I'll have to go back and watch that. Cole says, on my end, I can't get sound on that video from the website. Yeah, so if you go on the link, it says that Pro didn't release any audio for the video, but they did release what the video angle looked like. So it's dumb that there is no audio for the video, but they showed you all the angles they were looking at. I feel like we didn't need the angles because we saw them during the game, but it is what it is, right? I mean, can't go back and try to get a decision that it's in the past. Just doesn't matter. Michael says players were getting heated with Bizo. Yeah, I noticed that a couple times too. Steve says, honestly, a pretty badass diving header from Navarro. Does he also break dance? Yeah, it was a nice celebration too. I've always liked Rafa Navarro. He's been with Colorado for a couple years now, and he does a lot of dirty work. He's a good finisher of the ball. He's a strong center forward. It's really, really good scouting by Colorado to sign him a few years ago out of Brazil. But the Union come back with 3 unanswered goals. And a big reason for that was Mikael Uhre, super sub off the bench, his first multi-goal game since April 22nd of 2023 against Toronto FC. And I was surprised by that, honestly. But going back and looking at the stats and everything, it is clear. He did have a moment last year where he scored in 4 consecutive games, but didn't score a brace, just scored single goals. And maybe we're seeing that again with Mikael Uhre, where we've seen it since 2022, where he'll get in these runs where he gets on scoring hot streaks, and then the next couple of weeks, the goals, the assists, they all slow down. And maybe this is the start of something new for Mikael Uhre. Maybe this is when he's going to get hot, because I would imagine this is what the Union want with 9 games remaining. As you're making the push for a top 4 spot for the playoffs, I would imagine the Union also have greater aspirations than top four when you've been at the top of the supporter shield pretty much the whole season long. And so I got to imagine going for a number one, number two spot for the playoffs is probably what the Union are looking at. And why not? Why not? They've been so good this season. But Mikael Uhre comes off the bench. And don't forget, he's coming back from that injury, got injured against Dallas on May 31st, missed over a month, missed 5 games, played against CF Montreal 2 weeks ago, makes a start against Houston Dynamo last week, only plays 45 minutes, gets subbed out at halftime, and then plays last night against the Rapids, plays 17 minutes, but he scores a brace in 6 minutes from the 89th minute to the 95th minute. And Mikel's a streaky player, and that's okay. That's okay for me because Mikel last night, after scoring that brace, he's now tied for the third most goals in franchise history with 36. He ties CJ Sapong. And this is a player that's got a lot of hate. A lot of fans over the years have complained about Mikel missing chances, and all strikers are going to miss chances. I think that first goal that Mikel scored last night with the left foot just below the 18-yard box, it's a really difficult finish. And I feel like we've seen it so many times this season or years past where Mikel scores these difficult goals. And then when it's these easy chances, he kicks it right at the goalie. And it's like, how didn't you finish that? You did everything right but the finish. And that wasn't the issue last night for Mikel. Finishes both of his chances that he got credit for him. I know he had 3 shots last night. His third shot was blocked on the evening, so he had 3 shots on target. But yeah, Mikael Uhre, really, really good performance coming off the bench for the Union. And after the game, he was made available to the media. I posted in my article a 45-second soundbite of him talking about, yeah, his contract's up after the end of the season, how it has played on his mind a little bit. So I added that audio in the article if you guys want to listen to Mikael talk. But this was the quote when he was asked, does it play on your mind knowing that your contract's up after this season? You've been injured, and that's 2 things against you, and all you want to do is just focus on playing soccer, helping your team. And Mikael said, quote, I mean, I would lie if I said it didn't affect me going into the last 3, 4, 5 months of the year. Of course, it's something that lingers in your mind. Also, I have family, so you have to think about them as well. But yeah, again, I have an amazing wife who's always there for me, even when the days are gray, because you take the job home. So yeah, it's really important to have her and my 2 kids. They help me a lot, end quote. And what player isn't going to be distracted by contract extensions? Because Mikel's been here since 2022. Signed for a then club record fee of $2.8 million from Danish side Brøndby, was signed as a designated player. He signed a 3-year contract back in 2022 with an option for 2025. And since his arrival, he's always been the club's highest earner. And this season in 2025, he's making $2.2 million, again, highest on the team. And so when you've had this guaranteed contract for 3 years, you hit your incentives where it picks up your option for 2025. And I don't know where talks stand with Mikel, his agent, and the club. But of course, it's going to linger on the back of your mind. And when you're out injured for over a month, you miss 5 games, you don't have the chance to prove yourself that, hey, look, I am deserving of another contract. What did the Union do? Do they offer him a contract extension? I think personally, I would take Mikel back if he was willing to take a TAM deal. I think Mikel would be a really good TAM player. DP, again, I don't know. I can't see it. Don't forget, Bruno Damiani will become a full designated player next season. He is currently a young designated player for the Union. But the Union, they do have flexibility. They do have options for next season to go out and get 2 more designated players if they want to, if they don't bring back Mikael Uhre. Daniel Gazdag obviously got traded to Columbus, and that opened up a designated player spot. Did the Union go 2 DPs and 4 U22s next season? Who knows? But I think Mikael Uhre has been a really good signing for the Union. Since 2022, he scored 10 plus goals in all competitions. Now, will he hit that number this season? We shall see. He's at 4 goals currently. He doubled that last night, scoring the brace. But Mikael, you know what you get with him. He's going to make those hard runs in the back of the line, just like he did for his second goal last night. And Alejandro Bedoya, as soon as the ball comes to him, he just hits the ball first time over the top of the Colorado Rapids back line. And more times than not, Uhre is going to win that foot race because he's quick, he's fast, he has good acceleration. Takes 3 really good touches, winds up nutmegging Zach Steffen on the first goal, and we'll talk about that a little bit later because it's a fantastic finish by Uhre, left-footed strike. But Indiana Vassilev, I think, is the player who makes that play from the beginning for the Union. Talk about that a little bit in the goals breakdown video. But yeah, Mikael Uhre had a really good night for the Union off the bench, and it's a good problem for Bradley Cornell to have. And we've seen it throughout the season where he rotates his front three constantly with Damiani, Baribo, and Uhre. I think Saul Livas is starting to make a case, right, to be a solid fourth player because he's involved just as much as Bedoya was on the second goal that Uhre scored. He puts the pressure on. He forces the mistake by Colorado. And then it's a bad pass. Bedoya intercepts it, plays it first time over the back line. And the only thing I would say that's missing from Sal is, like, you guys remember it? He had that 1v1 opportunity against Red Bulls a couple weeks ago. Doesn't finish it. But I like what I've seen. Every appearance that Sal's had this season, the pressing, the off-the-ball movement, it's really, really good. And I think, honestly, like, he's probably past Chris Donovan on the depth chart, but maybe not. I don't know how you guys feel about that. Actually, I do. I think a lot of you guys would prefer to have Sal Livas ahead of Chris Donovan on the depth chart, but Sal, a limited amount of minutes last night, and he made the most of them. Cole says, never had and never will understand the Mika hate. Steve says, I definitely was doubting Mika for most of last season. He's getting paid big time and not providing, but this year I'm on Team Uhre for sure, especially as he warmed up to me in person. John says, joining late because I'm on vacation, but hello, Todd, in chat. Hey, appreciate that, John, chiming into the podcast while on vacation. John says, would be a shame to lose Uhre, but hard to imagine him coming back without a pay cut. Steve says, Team Pops. Yeah, that is right. That is Sal's nickname. Totally forgot about that. Jillian says, need more Sal. I agree. He's done well in every appearance he's played so far this season with the Union. But going back to Uhre, and to your comment, John said, would be a shame to lose Uhre, but hard to imagine him coming back without a pay cut. That's the only way you bring back Uhre, in my opinion. And I had this discussion with Jose Nunez last night on the phone when I was leaving the stadium. There's got to be teams in MLS, right, that would be willing to pay Mikael a DP contract. At least I would imagine. I would think a team like New York Red Bulls would possibly pay him DP money. DC United's a team that comes to mind as well. I mean, it's a dumpster fire of an organization, but they just throw money out left and right. And I think if Mikael is happy in the United States with his family, if he still wants to get paid high money, there's got to be teams in MLS that would value him as a designated player still. Like I said, since 2022, he scored 10 plus goals in all competitions. And will he get to that this season with the Union? We shall see. Don't forget, they're still in US Open Cup. 9 games remaining in MLS regular season. Then you have the playoffs. But yeah, it would be a shame, I think, if Uhre was willing to come back at a TAM deal and you don't bring him back. I think that would be a missed opportunity because don't forget, Uhre also doesn't take an international spot. And it seems like Bradley Cornell values him. And it seems like he fits in well with Damiani and Baribo. And he offers something different than those two guys with his speed. And he plays well with both strikers. And so we'll see what happens. We'll see where contracts talks lie. Maybe that's a question to ask him in the next couple of weeks. Have him and his agent had talks with the Union? What do they look like? Are the Union interested in bringing back Mikael Uhre? Because if I was Ernst Tanner, I'd bring him back if he's willing to take a TAM deal. But my worry is, and Jose convinced me of this, is there's probably multiple teams in MLS that would still make him a designated player if the Union decide not to next season. But to give myself a rest, because I just realized 36 minutes into this, have not played a clip yet. Definitely need a drink. This is what Bradley Cornell said last night about Mikael Uhre trending in the right direction.
We've challenged Mika, we've challenged every player, in terms of our stylistically what we expect and how we want to go about things. And he was due for sure, but he never dropped his head. He worked his butt off, and he got a little injury and came back. And we can't expect too much too soon. So it's been 3 games now back from his injury, and he's I think you can see which way he's trending right now. So 9 games left, and we're getting everyone fit, healthy, stronger.
Yeah, Bradley Cornell saying that he's trending, in his opinion, in the right direction. And yeah, it's easy to say, right? With 2 goals last night, we had mentioned it. Mikael's a player that's streaky, gets hot, gets cold. Here's a question for you guys. I've asked a lot of questions. That's how it usually goes on the show when it's just me by myself, which is fine. But do you guys think Mikael finishes with 10 or more goals in all competitions? He's done it every single season that he's been here. I know the season's winding down. You're still in U.S. Open Cup, and hopefully the Union go on a deep run in the playoffs. If that happens, I do think Mikael can reach that at 4 goals total this season. But the clock's ticking, and Mikael's a striker that gets hot. Who's to say he doesn't score, I don't know, 6, 7 goals in his next 2-3 games? I'm including the brace that he scored against Colorado. So let's say he scores 6, 7 goals in his next 2-3 games, including what he did against the Rapids, then he would be at that number. So we'll see what happens. I have faith in Mikael, and hopefully he stays healthy. You heard Bradley Cornell say, we're getting healthy. Fingers crossed players stay healthy for this team. And Mikael Uhre pushes Bruno Damiani, pushes Tai Baribo. They push each other. Mikael offers something a little bit different, and I think it's just a really, really good connection all of those guys have going forward. John says his first goal was a picture-perfect finish. I think he finishes on 8 or 9 goals. Steve says this team spreads the goals so wide, which is awesome, but I doubt Uhre hits the double-digit mark. And that's fair, exactly. I mean, that's one thing that stands out. We've talked about it, 17 different goal scorers this season for the Union. Doesn't matter if Baribo is scoring or not, because other players step up when Baribo is not scoring. Obviously scores last night. Fantastic cross in by Kai Wagner. Another set-piece goal for the Union. They tie Minnesota United with 16 set-piece goals this season. I asked you guys a few episodes ago, will the Union go over or under 19 set-piece goals? I took the over on that, and the 3 away from tying 19 with 9 games to go. That's now 4 straight games that the Union have scored a set-piece goal, and it just seems like they're not going to stop anytime soon scoring set pieces. But going back to your comment, John, about the finish, it is a great finish with the left foot. He takes 2 really good touches that set him up for that goal. He takes the first touch with an outside of the boot touch, and then he takes a strong right-footed touch to bring the ball left. And because Colorado is giving enough space and time on the ball, it allows Mikael to go ahead and swing that ball a little bit wider left. And as soon as he does it, he has one thing in mind and one thing only: hitting a low-driven shot past Zach Steffen's left inside post. And it's a terrific finish by Mikael. Like I had said 10, 15 minutes ago, we see him score some terrific goals, some difficult shots. But then there's also those moments when he's 1v1 against the goalie and he kicks it straight at the goalie. And it's like, man, I think that's why some fans get upset with Mikael Uhre, because he's always going to give you at least one opportunity, but he's not always finishing it. And I think that's why some fans get upset with Mikael Uhre. But I set myself up for that, the terrific finish for the first goal that Uhre scores. And a big part of that is Indy and Vassilev. And I'll be the first to say it. You guys have heard me say it multiple times here on this show that Indy doesn't create enough chances, in my opinion. I think that if Indy was playing as a number 6, I think everybody would be happy with him. There would be no complaints whatsoever. But because you're asking him to play as one of your two number 10s where you do want to have a little bit more chance creation. That's why fans, that's why myself, that's why other media members get a little bit upset from Indiana Vassilev. But in terms of pressing, in terms of having a high work rate, a endless engine, Indy checks all those boxes. Nobody's denying that. Nobody's saying he doesn't work hard off the ball. But it's the chance creation that is lacking. Gets an assist last night, which I looked this up, only 2 assists on the season. And that was his first assist since March 8th, 2025 against New England. It's a long time coming for Indiana Vassilev. He's created 16 chances on the team this season, which is tied for the 6th most, tied with Tai Baribo. But his movement into space on that first goal by Mikael Uhre, it's quick passing by Indy. And I'd said it in the press box. As soon as Indy receives the final pass before he passes it to Mikael, I said, God, he just slowed down the play. Like, why? Why did he slow down the play? And he made me eat my words 10 seconds later when he passes the ball to Mikael. Mikael takes 2 great touches, and then he finishes brilliantly. But that's what you needed. You needed a moment like that from Indiana Vassilev. And it wasn't just that. Yes, it's 6 out because he gets the assist, Mikael Uhre scores. But if you watch how he played all night long, he did so well at attacking the space, dribbling, taking players on 1v1, playing between the lines. But it just so happens to stand out in that moment where he's just constantly checking for the ball, runs in space, checks for the ball, runs in the space. And it pulls the defenders out of Colorado. And yes, Mikael Uhre helps out with the goal. But I honestly believe this. If it isn't for the movement from Vassilev, Mikael doesn't get that space to get that shot off. And so, yeah, this is one of those opportunities where you've got to praise Indiana Vassilev for his chance creation, for how he attacked the space. And even if he wouldn't have been the player that passed to Mikael Uhre, even if you didn't get the assist, I would still say he had a really good night attacking the lines, taking players on 1v1. And so I had asked Bradley Connell after the game, just how big was that? Was that play by Indiana Vassilev for Mikael's first goal on the night?
Massive. And the staff identified a great, tactical tweak to stay on the ball in the final third. We said they're really good on the jump with their 2 strikers and with the press, but once you break that, you are able to play angled passes through the lines. And I think you saw that through the whole night. And then in the final third, it's a group who does back up, and we identified that. So we told them extra touch or an extra pass. And I think we saw both. Andy takes the extra touch and the extra pass. So, but he's relentless in his pressing as well. I mean, he covers so many yards. He's on the trigger all the time. So, he does a lot of the dirty work for the team, and the team really appreciates that.
And again, nobody, I don't think you guys listening, I don't think people in the media are denying that Indiana Vassilev does the dirty work. He's doing the dirty work of a number 6. And nobody would have an issue with that if he's playing that position. But because he's playing as a 10, where you want a little bit more chance creation, that's when you start to hear complaints. And so Indiana Vassilev, massive for the Union last night. Massive performance from him, and happy to see him get his assist. John says, felt bad Danley didn't get a goal because he deserved one. Had 2 big chances. We'll talk about that here in a minute. I'll star that. Michael says, both Danley and Lukic last night, I felt for them. Again, we'll talk about that in a bit. John says, it seems like the first time in a while he didn't shoot it right at the goalie. The second goal was straight at the goalie. Mikael's goal, right? Where he megs Zach Steffen at his near post. And yeah, maybe it could have been better goalkeeping from Zach on the night. But yeah, I think, it's typical Mikael Uhre getting in behind. John says, Indy found some good spaces between the lines, but his passing wasn't great. Yeah, I mean, his passing numbers, pulling it up last night, 39 out of 47 passes complete, 83%. Created 3 chances last night, which is much higher than what he averages. He averages 0.6 chances per game. So to see him come out with 3 chances last night, yeah, I think he had a really good night offensively for the Union. Michael says, I'm always yelling how long Indy holds onto the ball, but last night he was dialed in. And it's the same thing with Quinn Sullivan last night. How many times were people complaining about Quinn holding on to the ball way too long? And now it seems like Quinn's playing a little bit faster this season. Cole says, yep, I agree. What makes me even more mad is the fact we keep summing out Quinn when we need more goal instead of Indy. Need a goal instead of Indy. Need a goal instead of Indy. I agree. Cole says, I guess it did work yesterday, though. Chris says, was that Indy's best game of the year last night? I think so. Yeah, I would agree too, right? Even if he doesn't get that assist, even if he doesn't get the assist, the way that he was attacking the lines, playing in space, Indiana Vassilev had a really, really good night. And like Bradley Cornell said, credit to the staff for pointing this out in video. And I'm sure they probably looked at this at halftime and they said, this is where we need to attack. These are our moments of opportunity we need to take advantage of. And you saw it all night long with Indiana Vassilev. Comes away with the assist. And a big part of that is because of Mikael's finish. But it does seem like the Union were really dialed into what this coaching staff told them to take advantage of, which was a weakness by Colorado. Playing deep, which is fine. You see a lot of players or a lot of teams play low blocks. But the one thing that was a little bit confusing to me is they were just giving the Union way too much time and space on the ball. They weren't closing down that space quick enough. And the Union took advantage of it. Was a little bit confusing for me why Colorado were just so slow at closing down the ball. John says his running hard on the press is unmatched. Absolutely. Chris says, tough to complain about ND too much. He starts all the games and this team is top of the table. Steve says Quinn has really stepped up by leaps and bounds this season. He looked real last night. And that's why we talked about it at the beginning of the show where Union fans were chanting MVP to Tai Baribo. And I'm like, not so fast. Quinn Sullivan's got to be up there for MVP for the Union. Fantastic game once again for the Union last night. Kai Wagner obviously gets an assist last night, having, again, another great year for the Union. So a lot of contenders for MVP, and Indiana Vassilev was crucial last night for the Union. And like I said, I've complained about his chance creation a lot on the show, and when he does good, I'll be the first to admit that, hey, look, it's a good performance by Indy last night, and I have no issues whatsoever giving him his praises when it's due. But you guys were talking about the chances that Danley had, that Jovan had, and neither one of them were able to find the back of the net last night. But one thing I think is worth talking about is just staying positive despite the missed chances in the first half. The Union had 12 shots, 7 of those on target. They go into the half trailing 1-0. And it really didn't feel like the Union deserved to be trailing at halftime. It really didn't. I think you guys would agree. They had 3 big chances missed in the first half, 2 of them being being Danley John Jock. You have the header by Bruno Damiani that's saved off the line by Zach Steffen, and then Danley John Jock was right there. He gets on the ball, but he kicks it right at Steffen, and it's an easy save for him when Steffen's on the ground. And then you have a chance a little while ago. After that, Quinn's running down the right side of the field, crosses it towards the back post after Danley makes a strong run through the middle of the field. And all he has to do is just tap it in the back of the net. And he skies it over the crossbar. And it's like, come on. Like Quinn Sullivan does all this hard work on the right side of the field. The Union moved the ball brilliantly. And there couldn't have been a better pass by Quinn Sullivan into Danley John Jock. All he has to do is just tap it. And then he hits it over the crossbar. And to see the Union come back in the second half, not let that deteriorate their motivation, their mindset. They get 3 goals in the second half. But yeah, it is. It is easy. And Bradley Cornell said it after the game that they were a little down. The team was a little down at the half because they created 12 chances. 7 of those were on target, and yet they couldn't get a goal. But we know this with this team. The game's not over until the final whistle. They're going to continue to create chances. They're still going to continue to take you on 1v1. And sometimes you need a set-piece goal, like you got with the first one with Tai Baribo. Sometimes you need individual brilliance. But at the end of the day, this team's always going to get one. They're always going to get a chance. And they came out in the second half and took advantage of of the chances that they created in the second half. They continued to create chances like they did in the first half, maybe a little less chances created. The difference being they put the ball in the back of the net in the second half, but this team didn't let it get them down. They came back, scored 3 unanswered goals, and now that's 21 points. 21 points now gained by the Union from losing positions. It's insane. It's insane, and it tells you everything you need to know about this team. Lukic's goal, because you mentioned John, you felt bad for Danley. He didn't get his goal. He deserved one. And then Michael followed it up with both Danley and Lukic last night. You felt for them. And yeah, Jeremiah Lukic, he should have had a goal. Should have had a goal in the second half, 1v1 against Zach Steffen. Talked about it a little bit in the first half too, right? It's great ball movement, and Quinn Sullivan plays across kind of towards the back post for Tai Baribo, wins the header, heads it back for Jovan Lukic. Nobody in the midfield for Colorado tracks him. Should have been a goal. Should have been a goal. Completely unmarked, and kicks the ball into the ground straight at Zach Steffen and makes a easy save there. But both number 6s for the Union played extremely well last night. And again, we talk about MVPs. I mean, both of those guys got to be up there, right? For MVP talks for this team. And I believe it was Cole who mentioned it earlier in the show. The Union can't lose Ty Baribo. They can't lose Quinn Sullivan. They can't lose a Danley John Jock this summer. You got to hold on to those guys because it really does feel like this team's going on a run. And don't forget, we're seeing so many parallels to 2022 because there was talks that could the Union sell Julian Kranza, having a fantastic season for the Union back in 2022. They keep the core of this group together, even though there was interest to sell some guys, to trade some guys, and they go on this run. They fall up short in MLS Cup. They decide to run it back for 2023. Obviously, it doesn't work out. But will this team be able to get over the hump this season? We shall see. And again, you mentioned it, Steve. 17 different goal scorers. They rely on this whole team, and the whole team's bought into what Bradley Cornell wants to do. But I can't help but to not see all the similarities from 2022 to what we're seeing in 2025. The Union are getting results on the road. Subaru Park's back to being a dominant place for them to play. Only one loss on the season at home, being Nashville, who the Union could face in the next round of the U.S. Open Cup if they can get past New York Red Bulls. And Nashville's a team that scares me a little bit, if I'm being honest, guys, right? If the season ended and the Union had to play Nashville, they're a team that's had Bradley Cornell's number all season long. And yeah, the game at Subaru Park, a dicey game. A lot goes wrong in that game because of the referee. Again, you don't want to blame referees. A late penalty decision at Geodis Park, and the games are probably a lot closer than what the results hold. But yeah, Nashville, I think, is a team for me that scares me. I think that's a bad matchup for the Union just because both teams are super similar, and the Union really haven't found a way how to break down Nashville yet. And again, we don't have to worry about that yet. There's still plenty of soccer left to be played until playoffs start. 9 games remaining. But I do think that Nashville would be a difficult team for this team if playoffs started today. But I have no clue how we got into a tangent. Just the Union continuing to find ways to stay positive. And Bradley Cornell was asked about that after the game, just staying positive and coming back with that energy, that mindset for the second half.
Usually, I'm quick on the draw with the changes. Usually, we thought it's not broken. We don't need to change it. But then you did see some fatigue setting in, which is totally natural. And then to bring on a spark with Ale, to bring on a spark with Mika and Sal. So yeah, and then we kind of run down the clock with the 2 late subs. So I mean, yeah, we knew structurally we were thinking of going through a whole scenarios just to change something. But when something is working so well, why change it? So then you just need a spark of energy, and I think that's what we brought tonight.
And Bradley Cornell's not wrong, right? It was working in the first half. The Union were creating a ton of chances, 12 shots, 7-1 target. Just couldn't find the back of the net because of Zach Steffen. And then Bradley Cornell, decided not to make his substitutions until much later. He is right. I mean, we've seen, I feel like around the 55th, 60th minute when Bradley starts to make his first subs in the game, doesn't make his first substitutions until the 73rd minute with Bedoya and Mikael Uhre coming off the bench. And to his credit, he trusts these guys to go out there and to crawl their way back into the game. They get it off of a set piece with Tai Baribo and Kai Wagner connecting once again. But this brings up another point that I want to bring up, and we won't spend too much talking about this, but it's, can you wrongly assess a soccer game? Like the simple answer is yes. Yes, you can. You can wrongly assess a soccer game. I don't even know how to frame this, but I think all of us would agree that the Union played really well last night. Bradley Cornell said it in his opening statement. Even if the Union would have lost, he would have been happy with that performance because they created a ton of chances, 27 shots. Just couldn't find a way until later on to get the ball past Zach Steffen. And Bradley Cornell took a question last night about how the Union played terrible in the second half, which I don't know how you come to that assessment. And Bradley Cornell was quite angry with the question, and this is what Bradley had to say about that.
I don't think we look terrible at all. We get 12 shots off, we dominate, we concede one moment, and we concede a goal. So, yeah, a game's 90 minutes long, and yeah, I would like to assess the game a little bit better, because that comment, the guys deserve more respect than that. They've shown that over the years, or over the season now, that performance was a really good performance. Not lucky, not fortuitous, nothing that was off a random coincidental play. Everything was strategic, everything was planned, and everything was executed in the best possible way. And I think everything shows that tonight.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not too much I want to spend on that. I mean, you could tell Bradley Cornell is pretty upset with that question. I mean, 4 seconds. He leaves 4 seconds of silence after the question was asked. And yes, we can all have different opinions on how the game went, but how you could say last night the Union were terrible, specifically in the first half, just mind-boggling to me. And I try to stay neutral, right? I try to push away the side of me that wants to see the Union do well and get results and win. I try to stay neutral. I really try my hardest, and sometimes it's difficult. Like, I was upset at that question. And so I can only imagine how Bradley Cornell felt with that question being asked. And it's I don't know. Bradley Cornell is a better person than me with answering the question the way he did. And he's right. It is kind of offensive to the players to say that they played terrible when that was, I think, one of their best performances in the first half. The only thing that was stopping them was Zach Steffen. And how that's terrible, I don't know. I don't know. So that's why I brought it up. Like, can you wrongly assess a soccer game? Yes, the answer is obviously yes, but I don't know. I mean, ugh. I don't know. I feel bad bringing it up, but I wanted to bring that up because I was I was like, man, I couldn't help but smile. Cole says, "Good on Canal for keeping it calm. I think I would have went off in a different way." Yeah. Michael says, "I would have laughed and said next question." Nah, Chris says when that question came in during the presser, I was like, "What planet are you on, dude?" Yeah, I don't know. I don't have too much more to say, so let's go ahead and talk about blunder of the week and hopefully end on a more lighthearted haha moment. But a lot of great contenders this week for blunder of the week, and I think for me, I saw this late last night during the game. I don't even know how I saw this last night on Twitter, but it was hilarious that and this showed up on my feed, and you guys can see it there on the scrolling bar, the ticker at the bottom. Blunder of the week's going to go to Doncaster Rovers over in England for trying to play out of the back against Blackpool. And I'll go ahead and pull up the clip right here for you guys to see this. But yeah, this is hilarious. I mean, the goalie is taking the goal kick, plays it short inside of his 6-yard box. Ball gets played back to the goalkeeper. Goalie tries to cut it past the attacker, and somehow he dribbles the ball. He kicks the ball into his net for an own goal. And we see this so often in soccer, right? Teams trying to play out of the back. It's the new way of playing soccer. And this all started with Pep Guardiola. I feel like it became even more evident at Manchester City when he took over, when he wanted a goalkeeper. He went out, got Ederson. And no, it is Ederson. He went out and got Ederson, who came up as a striker and was really good with the ball at his feet. Eventually transitioned to a goalkeeper. He was at Benfica, I believe it was, and then Man City wound up buying him. And then we started seeing just all these teams trying to go for goalkeepers that are good with the ball at their feet. They want to play from out of the back. And so many teams try this, and it just doesn't wind up going how they planned. And so Doncaster Rovers, they're the latest team to try to play out of the back, and they are horrible playing out of the back, and it winds up with a goalkeeper touching the ball in his own goal. The ball doesn't even leave the 18-yard box, and Doncaster concede just a silly goal. So Doncaster Rovers, you get my blunder of the week. Pep Guardiola, you get blunder of the week for convincing teams all over the world that doesn't matter who you have on your team, you can play out of the back.
Yeah, not good.
No, not good at all. But I do find it interesting because the Union, anytime they have Andrew Rick, they try to play out of the back. We saw last night the Union actually played out of the back with Andre Blake. It took 7 passes from Blake all the way up for the chance from Jovan Lukic, where probably should have scored that in the first half. But sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, that was that was a horrible sequence out of the back. Cole says that looks like a play we would have made last season. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there were so many moments last year where we could have gave the Union blunder of the week because of just so many mental mistakes, so many silly mistakes. Michael says, I'm just waiting for it to happen in MLS. And of course, right, because this happens over in England, nobody's going to question it. But the joke would have been, oh, only in MLS. Oh, typical MLS playing out of the back. Michael says, isn't that why Miami signed Ustari? Yeah, probably. Probably wanted a goalie that was good with the ball at the feet. John says, Messi not showing up must have come in a strong second. Yeah, I mean, I was happy that Miami did the right thing and suspended both Jordi Alba and Lionel Messi for missing the All-Star game. So yes, that was definitely a close second. There's a couple more that I wish I could have said, but I definitely couldn't have done one of them. But yeah, Messi not showing up to the All-Star game, it's so silly. Like, come on, just play for 10 seconds, 10 minutes, or what have you, and then be on the plane back to Miami. Like, you don't have to play that much. Just play for 10 minutes. If Sergio Ramos, and I was talking to my sister about this when we were watching the All-Star game. If Sergio Ramos, who is a legend, one of the all-time great center backs in world soccer. It's won everything there is in your professional career. You win the World Cup with Spain. You win the Champions League with Real Madrid. You win La Liga with Real Madrid. I mean, he's won everything you could possibly win. If he could show up for Liga MX and play in the All-Star Game, then why can't Messi play 10 minutes? That's all he needs to do. Play 10 minutes. Maybe he's afraid to face off against Sergio Ramos again, and that's why he decided not to play in the All-Star Game. But I mean, ridiculous that Messi couldn't show up. And I'm glad that MLS held strong to the rules and decided, hey, look, I'm going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and suspend both Alba and Messi for not showing up. And I think it's funny, too, Jorge Mas, the owner for Miami, saying that, oh, I hope this doesn't have negative effects in the contract extensions with Messi. And that's a load of bullcrap. You know it's not, Mas, because if it was, there's no way that you guys sign DePaul. DePaul's not signing with Miami unless Messi's there. So for him to come out and say, yeah, hopefully this doesn't have negative effects. I mean, what it's probably going to do is probably have MLS go and reevaluate the rule. If you miss the All-Star game, you'll be suspended. They'll probably change that rule because of Messi. But no way that's going to have a negative effect on Messi resigning with Miami. If it was the case, DePaul's not signing with Miami. There's no way. There is absolutely no way that DePaul's signing with Miami. Maybe he does. Glesnes could have been a shout too. Bradley Cornell was pretty annoyed that he played 60 minutes. As you mentioned there, Cole plays 60 minutes. Bradley Cornell said they did not agree to that. The union and Nico Estevez, the MLS coach for the All-Star game, but he plays 60 minutes, and thankfully he doesn't get hurt. Plays well last night against Colorado, and yeah, it was weird that Jacob played, I think, the most out of any player during the All-Star game, but well deserved for a strong season he's having this season. Chris says goalkeeper turnover like that almost happened today. Spain versus England in the Women's Euro. Absolutely. John says Messi could have held up a Michael Lob ultra before he played 10 minutes. Michael says they said Messi needed a rest, so he got a bigger rest. I don't see why everyone is complaining. Yeah, true, but that's Miami fans for you, right? And it'll be interesting to see what comes of that Miami situation once Messi decides that he no longer is going to be playing for Miami. I do think he winds up resigning with Miami, but once Messi leaves, I'm sure a lot of those fans are also going to leave down in Miami. But almost an hour and 10 into the podcast. I appreciate you guys chiming in live, keeping the show going with your comments. If you guys aren't following the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, follow at Free Kick Pod, wherever you get your podcast of The Free Kick. Make sure to check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/freekickpod. We're live every single podcast. Also, check out the goals breakdown videos on YouTube. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, I posted it an hour before we went live on YouTube. So after you're done listening to this, check out the goals breakdown video. A lot to break down in the game against the Union in Colorado. 16-minute long video, longer than what we've typically had. And then if you guys want to go ahead and check out my writing, the goals breakdown video, and the podcast all in one place, go ahead and check out thefreekick.substack.com. And I got to decide what we're going to do for the podcast for the next 2 weeks. Like we all know, the Union have a friendly game against Frankfurt. I'm not going to be going to that game. Union 2 do have a game on Sunday at 6 o'clock against FC Cincinnati. I feel like that would be a great opportunity. I usually go to one Union 2 game a season. So would this be my one? Maybe. So we got to see what we do in terms of the podcast. If you guys have ideas of what kind of show we should do with no Union MLS game until August 9th, let me know on social media. Let me know on YouTube. I mean, you guys have so many ways to get in contact with me. I'm open to suggestions because I do feel bad if we don't have a show for 2 weeks. So I do want to do something. And if you guys have suggestions for what kind of show we should do, let me know. But until then, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.